Hello and welcome to another episode of the Internal Chatter Podcast. Joined by my co-host Sam Coombs, I'm Justin Gaither. Today we're joined by Nic Barlage, President of Business Operations for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Nic's in his second stint with the Cavs. He's also served 2 stints with the Phoenix Suns and 1 with the Charlotte Bobcats. Nic is the youngest president in the NBA and one of the most impressive people in the business. So without further ado, here is Nic Barlage.
Hey Nic, how you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Glad you could join us today.
Yeah, great to connect again with you and Justin, Sam.
For sure. So just kind of getting right into things. Obviously, it's been a long NBA year. It's been an interesting time with the COVID and all the things that have been affected by that. How kind of challenging has that been for someone in your role, in a leadership role, and kind of adapting to those changes?
Yeah, look, I think it's definitely been unique. There's no doubt about it. I think I read somewhere the other day that it'll be the longest NBA season ever. And hopefully that it's not repeated, but it's, look, I would say this. I think a long time ago, we and myself and individually, you look at challenges like they're opportunities to get better. And that's really what we've tried to focus on through this whole thing. I couldn't be more proud of our entire team in regards to how they've tried to really attack the situation. There's a lot of unknowns. I mean, we were just doing some reflecting on this a couple of weeks ago, but I think from March until April, until May, until June, I mean, things changed so much and shifted so much that we've been really just trying to attack the known outcomes of the different scenarios, and then put ourselves in the best position possible as a business to really swing back. And I think the one thing that's been incredible to see about our group, and Sam, you know this because you worked with us for a while, is the impact we've been able to have in the community relative to the social movement that's been going on, in regards to racism and really trying to help in our Black and Brown communities, as well as we've really transitioned and transformed Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse into Cleveland's community center. To date, we've had over 55 events, whether it's camps and clinics for kids. I'm actually tomorrow volunteering at a food drive right outside the walls of the field house. We've had over half a dozen blood drives in our atrium just to help people in this time of need, amongst a bunch of different activities, and so we do yoga sessions and series in the field, in Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, and a bunch of different stuff. And so, look, I think it's not the business we necessarily want to be in long term, right? But it ultimately, we think it's been great for the community to be kind of a beacon of hope and a beacon of light in some pretty difficult times. So you really just, once again, you look at it like the opportunities that permit from it. And I will tell you this: we'll be much better and we'll be much stronger as a business when we emerge from it because of how we've handled it and how we've approached it.
That kind of period of time when there was no sports going on, obviously everything was on hold for a large part of it. No one knew when sports would come back, what it would look like. What did that look like for you guys from a business standpoint? What are you trying to do to kind of keep some sort of revenue flowing if you could, or is it more look ahead? Kind of, how did you guys approach that period of time?
Yeah, I mean, I think, once we got to, it's a great question, Justin. Once we got to a known outcome in early June around the fact that we weren't going to be playing in the bubble, we pivoted very quickly. We pivoted to making sure that our partners are taken care of, working with them on substitute benefits and what that looks like. We pivoted very quickly for our members. We did that right from the very beginning because tickets are a pretty known asset, right? You either have the games or you don't. And everything we did thematically was centered around how do we emerge from this with stronger relationships and with stronger partners and fans than we entered into it. And so for us, that was really about kind of honestly throw the finances out the window, but as much as you're running triage on the financial side of the business, you were really looking at it around from the standpoint of how can we make sure that this moment in time fortifies the affinity we have with our fan base and ultimately the relationships and the roots that we have in our market. And so everything we did was centered around that. And what we've tried to do, as I mentioned, with some of these micro events, these 55 plus events we've hosted, Some of these are just for community impact. You can't put a dollar and there's no revenue you're going to generate really from it, but it's going to make Cleveland and Northeast Ohio a better place to live, work, and play. And some of them are a little bit of a revenue driver for us in the form of group tickets or in the form of member experiences or whatever the case may be is. And I think we were maybe the only team in the NBA that hosted a lottery party with a certain faction of our fans in person. And so you just do those things because you want to create experiences for people that help them in a time like this and help them push through. And so to say we've made a lot of money, we haven't in those things. Have we made no money? We have made a little bit of money. But it's, our owner has an ism, our chairman, Dan Gilbert, has an ism, money and numbers, they follow, they don't lead. And I think that's so important in a moment like this because you've really got to be focused on how you can make an impact. And then the swing back is shorter. I firmly believe the revenue swing back is shorter because you've built a benefit of doubt and a deference within your fan base that you're doing things the right way. So I will say, we've hosted some things. We've actually hosted what's called CLE Market Sale, which was like a garage sale of a bunch of unique memorabilia and stuff. We did pretty well with that. We did pretty well with some e-commerce initiatives we had because that business has obviously been booming across the country. But, on a grand scale, it's really been about how do you, once again, preserve what you have and how do you fortify. And then I've been really impressed. Our group rolled out some new incentives and some new ticketing programs and some new partnership platforms. And it's been over 7 figures we've done in those new initiatives and new business initiatives, which honestly, you had no idea what to expect, but that's been an incredible opportunity for us.
Right. How uniquely positioned do you think the Cavaliers have been to be associated with Cleveland Clinic? It's one of the most notable medical institutions in the world, and kind of early on in the pandemic to be able to, have information from them, relay it to your employees, and kind of be able to plan based on information that you're receiving from them.
Say that again, Sammy. Sorry, I cut out a little bit.
Just the Cavaliers' unique position in being, having a relationship with the Cleveland Clinic.
Yeah.
It's one of the, most notable medical institutions in the world, and being able to relay accurate information to your employees during this time.
Yeah, the Cleveland Clinic is fantastic. I mean, their doctors and their entire operation is world-class. We're very fortunate here in Northeast Ohio to have them in our backyard. I mean, you're talking about the number 2 medical institution in the country on a grand basis, and they're number 1 in a lot of categories as well. We think they're number 1 overall, but that's our own personal preference. Look, I would say this: we've had the clinic doctors on what we call our house calls. So Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, we've created a house channel where we do weekly updates with all of our team members. We have a weekly all company. And that's been one thing I would say, just to divert from your question here for a second. I don't think we've ever communicated as great as we have during this as an overall company. And I can get into some more of those tactics later on, but we do a weekly, and now we switched to every other week within the last couple of weeks, where we do a business update for the entire company. So we get all 500 plus of our team members together on a live stream, on a Microsoft Teams call. We answer questions, we give business updates, we give timing updates, we showcase certain things that are going on in the business. And then we have the clinic doctors on that provide their perspective on what's been going on in the pandemic. And it's just been incredible. I mean, our team members will say that, especially early on in this thing, their entire families would gather around for our house calls because the doctors would provide such great insights that they weren't getting from media or from other outlets. And so they're amazing. We also have a really robust protocol of any event we want to host here. We work with their transformational medical team led by Dr. James Merlino to really get us to a place where we can approve our events, and then we send it to the city and the county health officials to make sure that they're comfortable with it. It's the same protocols they used, say, with United Airlines when they were looking at trying to bring back flying safely in the midst of a pandemic for all of their customers. So it's world renowned, it's world class. Every turn of what the clinic does is it's unbelievable. And without them, we wouldn't be in this position that we're in to even be contemplating having some events back in the building, and hopefully here soon having some fans back in the building in a certain degree. So we're not there yet, but having the Cleveland Clinic's brand on it and also their expertise and their intellectual horsepower behind it provides an incredible opportunity for us, both internally with our team members to educate them, but also externally with our fans and with our potential people that might be entering into Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse.
You already kind of talked about how you guys have laid some sort of groundwork for, kind of keeping your fans and maintaining your, fan base in a time like this. How do you kind of see the landscape changing in the short term and then eventually long term as a result of kind of changes that have happened this season? Like I said, you already kind of talked about how you've made sure that you maintain those relationships, but, realistically, what do you see being a little bit different regardless?
Yeah, look, I think we'll be better. I think we'll be leaner. I think we'll be more impactful as a business. One thing I always point to when somebody asks this question, Justin, is what the league was able to do in the bubble with like virtual signage and on the court signage.
Yeah.
That's just been incredible for, and I think times like this, and we have the greatest commissioner, in my opinion, in the world, in Adam Silver. And I think in times like this, you're able to put all 52 cards on the table. The league, the teams, everybody, and expose new opportunities. And I point to that digital signage on the court because one, it was incredible how they executed it. Two, it's a massive opportunity for us as we think about how we help to restore value with our partners. And then I also think about things like they did with the Michelob Ultra Courtside Club powered by Microsoft Teams. Another great way to engage with fans that honestly, if we didn't have this pandemic, which by the way, you don't want it, but if we didn't have this, we wouldn't have had that forced evolution and forced innovation from this moment in time to give us different verticals and different opportunities within our business that I think will probably exist for quite some time now. So I think you have to look at it from that perspective, more about what did you add? What did you create in points in time like this? And you can't solely be focused on what you lost because what you lost is real. And we can't wait to get fans back into our buildings on a full capacity basis. But there's going to be tactics that come from this that make us better as a business long term. And I think that's just where you have to really focus your time and energy and honestly your spirit to be productive and to be positive as you go through it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of to divert a little bit. Obviously, you're a part of making some large decisions now and in a big role. What over time, what experiences have kind of led up to this, and what has your path kind of been like in some of your most impactful opportunities?
Look, there's no playbook for this. I'll be honest. I don't think anybody has one. You learn as you go. We've been very fortunate. We have a great chairman in Dan Gilbert, Sam, as you know, who affords us the opportunity to do a lot of things because of the resources he provides. And so that has made it a lot easier for us, candidly, than it would be a lot of our other brethren around in sports. But as you've seen, they've gone through a bunch of layoffs and furloughs and changes to their composition as a team. So I would say that we're very fortunate in that way. First and foremost. Second to that, I think when you look at adverse times in your career, this is probably the largest degree of adversity that we've dealt with as a team. I think it places even a greater value on the quality of people you have within your organization. I think we have great people holistically around our entire team, and so that part we're very fortunate with that helps us manage through this because it's not just me. It's not just Len Komorowski, our CEO. It's a collective effort. It's a team effort that gets us through points in time like this. And as a team, I'll think about both my two stints here with the Cavs. We've dealt with seismic changes in our business. This isn't the first time we've gone through some adversity. When LeBron left the first time to go to Miami, that was a big shift for us. And we met it head on. And look, you never fully recover from losing a player like him because he's arguably the greatest player that's played, especially during our generation of time here, and one of the greatest of all time in the NBA. And so you don't fully recover from it, but we learned how to build back, and we learned how to control what we can control from a business perspective. And we have great metrics and KPIs to show for the outcome from that first scenario. excuse me. And then other things, this is bigger than basketball here. What we have because of Dan and the footprint of what he does, it involves real estate and obviously involves mortgages. It involved gaming for a period of time. Our organization was a catalyst to get gaming approved in the state of Ohio. And that was a crazy thing to go through. We were able to go through a political campaign. I wasn't here for it, but a political campaign to get this building renovated and transformed. And so, you have these points in time where you kind of take and extract out certain experiential components of them, and you bring it together to try to help yourself manage through this situation. And I think that's ultimately what we've been very, I'd say successful, as successful as we can be in this situation which is, once again, something I'm incredibly proud of our team for being able to handle it the way that they've handled it. So, those would probably be the big ones. I think there's a lot of little ones along the way that you think about too. But those would be the big ones, I think, that help get you somewhat ready for moments like this.
Somewhat kind of broadening the scope here. As I understand it, you're from relatively small city in Minnesota. You went to a small school in Minnesota. What do you ever kind of think about how you find yourself in your position right now? You just don't really see a whole lot of people kind of make that move. Does that ever play a factor? Did you ever think about that?
I mean, look, I don't look back a lot other than to learn from my mistakes. I think, I've been very fortunate to work with some great people that have invested in me. And if there's any advice I have to anybody that's out there, it's not only to work your tail off and to work extremely hard, be empirically positive in every way that you can be, especially in sports, because sports is a bit of a roller coaster ride. And then it's surround yourself and find great people to work with and for, and people that'll invest in you. I'm a byproduct of those investments. I'm a byproduct of Dan Gilbert. I'm a byproduct of Len Komorowski. I'm a byproduct of Mike Toman. I'm a byproduct of, Robert Sarver, Jason Raleigh. I mean, there's a long list of people that have had a profound, Dr. Sutton, a profound impact in my career. And I think you just have to be a sponge, and you have to learn from those people and truly grow because of their intellect and their insights that they're offering to you. And so for me, like, it's never about me, candidly, Justin. I think it's really about we, and it's about everybody that's had an impact. And I just think that, that's really important. And even to this day, I firmly believe this, and Len and I talk a lot about this, but like, when you look at our org chart, a lot of people like to have a corporate org chart that scales up to, the top of the house or whatever it may be. I firmly believe it's a president or a CEO's job to be at the bottom of that org chart and to support the organization, and to be focused on putting people in a culture and an environment and positions in their day-to-day jobs that have the greatest degree of impact they can, and to truly be servant leaders. And so if you're a servant leader, you don't spend a lot of time thinking about yourself. You spend a lot of time thinking about other people and what they should be doing. And, maybe one day I'll sit back and think about it, but I don't plan on that day being anytime soon, candidly. And I just think that, I read something the other day, and I won't be able to get the quote right, but it's like, if you're really in leadership for the right reasons, you never think of yourself. You always think of others. And that's I just think that's a really true point. And they said it way more elegantly than that. I butchered that, but I just think that's really important. So,
what has most drawn you to that Cleveland Cavaliers brand? From what I understand, you were with the Cavs, and then you took an opportunity with the Phoenix Suns, and then you've made your way back to Cleveland. What has that process been like, find your way back, and why Cleveland?
Yeah, look, I think, well, first, I think just the NBA in general it's a great league, and there's a lot of great leagues out there. I think the NBA is very progressive, and I think is just fantastic. So my affinity's always kind of been in that vein. But and I've had a chance to, I've worked for 2 NBA teams twice, and then 1 NBA team, not twice, at least not yet, but I'm hoping I'm here for a while. So I worked for Phoenix twice, and I worked for Cleveland twice, and I worked for the Charlotte Bobcats at the time, now the Hornets, for a period of time. And so you have a diverse set of experiences, I'll say. Phoenix, the first stint, was at the tail end of an ownership transition. It was an incredible team. It was Steve Nash, it was that era, and it just, it was unbelievable to see the impact that sport had in that community. Charlotte was a bit of the other end of the spectrum. Candidly, we were just trying to gain our footing as an expansion franchise, and we were grinding through a lot of things, but an amazing experience in how to sell, a product that had a lot of objections to it. And now they're in such a greater place. I mean, Fred Whitfield and Michael Jordan owning that team now, they've done an incredible job of getting it to where it is. And I think Phoenix is a fantastic place. I mean, Justin, you live there right now. It's a fantastic place to live. Yeah. It's a great organization. It's one of the real legacy organizations in the NBA. For me, it was career growth, kind of every step of the way. Every step's kind of been towards, at least in my view, towards the right direction. And then the other piece of it was being able to work. There was nothing wrong with Phoenix. I mean, I really enjoyed my time. But when somebody like Dan Gilbert calls and says, hey, I want you to come back and do something that's a little wider in scope than what you're currently doing, you absolutely have to listen. And a lot of that is because of the value that he puts on people, that he puts on culture, and that he puts on, innovation and entrepreneurship. I just think those things are so important. And you really enjoy that. At least I really enjoy that. No day is the same, especially when you're in the sphere of Dan and his influence and all the great people that are within our family of companies, Jay Farner and Matt Rizik. And I really enjoy that part of it because we've got our hands in a lot of different things. And once again, it's bigger than basketball, and I think that part is really incredible to be a part of, And it's one of the things you don't really feel it until you're a part of it, or you don't really feel it until you're not a part of it. And I really wanted to be a part of it again, and I'm just very thankful to be able to do that. So,
kind of diverting it a little bit again, as I understand it, you spent a summer with the Northwoods League. Is that correct?
Yeah, 2 summers actually.
2 summers. So, what was that experience like? You hear a lot about people who work in minor league baseball and how that's a grind. I personally know someone who worked in the Northwoods League as a broadcaster, and what kind of a different grind is a summer collegiate baseball league? I'm imagining you're probably part custodian, part marketing, part everything. What was that experience like?
Yeah, you're spot on, Justin. It was incredible, man. I mean, I was really fortunate to work for a great guy, Ryan Voss, who taught me a lot just in a little period of time. It wasn't the most sophisticated deal, but it was incredible. It was trial by fire. And, look, I was part mascot, part laundry attendant, part
mascot,
sales guy, part on the field promotions, groundskeeper, you name it, I did it. And my internship I did everything, when I came back and worked full time, I still did everything. I thankfully had, there was a few interns on our team that helped me out with some of the other stuff that I did when I was an intern, but it was amazing, and it was the best, like looking back on it, and I've said this before, but looking back on it, it was the best experience to start off in. I'm a huge advocate of people starting off in minor league sports because you wear so many hats and you really get to understand what you enjoy. And for me, it was like I love the sales and marketing aspect of it. I love the hunt. I love the ability to find an opportunity and turn it into a commercial upside for the business. So all that being said, it was an incredible experience. I mean, you don't make a lot of money. You're not getting rich in that business by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not about that. It was about the experience, and it helped me refine what I was looking forward to getting into at a professional level. And then once I did transition, my first job was with the Phoenix Suns in inside sales. When I got there, and they basically told me all I had to do was make sales calls and sell tickets, I was just like, oh my gosh. So I can spend 18 hours a day, which is what I was working in minor league baseball. I can spend 18 hours a day just calling people to sell stuff. And they're like, yep. I'm like, well, I can do a whole lot more. I mean, I can help clean the facility. I literally remember having this conversation with my boss when I
throw batting practice maybe if they need it.
Yeah, I know. I was so naive. I was like, look, I can help clean the arena. I can pick up all the, he's like, no, you just need to sell tickets. And I was like, I can figure that out. Right. So I would just say it's an incredible experience. I highly advocate for people to do that. And quite frankly, we look for people in the minor league ranks as we're thinking about certain positions, because we know they're going to be hungry, and then we know they're going to get after it, and they're not going to be afraid of working hard. And it's very, very, very true.
What there has to be some sort of funny story from being a mascot. There's no way that's just that simple.
It really, I mean, there's a couple of times where we had
first
a
of all,
mascot.
what was the mascot?
Alexandria was a beetle. So it was Alexandria Beetles. So it was a big beetle. You had football shoulder pads or something. No, it was actually hockey shoulder pads.
Oh, geez.
And underneath an oversized jersey with a beetle shell and a big beetle. But neither here nor there. We had a mascot who would work our games, but we had to do community appearances, schools, selling group tickets, whatever the case may be we needed a mascot. And we weren't going to pay him to do a 30-minute appearance because we didn't have the money. So I would do it. And before I did it, our GM did it. And so it's kind of like a rite of passage. And, it was, there's a few stories. One, I remember we were doing an event at the ballpark, and we needed the mascot. And I ended up climbing up the fence line to the top of the grandstands before anybody saw me, and ended up coming down it. And I almost fell a couple of times. Looking back on it, it was probably like a 25, 30-foot fence. It made quite the impression on the crowd that was there, but it probably wasn't the smartest thing to do in full costume. But
Daredevil.
It was stuff like that you look back on and you're just thankful it worked out.
Yeah,
definitely. Obviously, you've worked on a lot of projects in your career. A huge one most recently was that transformation in Cleveland from Quicken Loans Arena to the now Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse and everything that came with that. What was it like to be a part of such a large project that is going to have an impact for so many years to come?
It was great. It's one of those moments in your career. I think that, you get to come together. We had a great group of people working on it. Once again, it wasn't just me. There was a lot of us that really made it as great as it was. But I remember the opening, which was literally 11 months ago next week. The opening of the building and how we did it. It was one of those moments of pride you have that you just, you can't really explain it because there was so much work that went into it. I tell people all the time that are embarking on these projects, it's like having 2.5 or 3 jobs. You have a construction job, you're selling the project, and then you're managing the day-to-day business in the as-is state. And so thankfully we had great people at every turn of that helping us, through the whole project. We had a great construction crew, we had a great sales crew, and we had a great crew helping us keep the ball moving down the field on the day-to-day business. But it was awesome, and I think it really is a great blueprint for people to look at how you restore, renovate, and transform existing structures. Justin, I know you're living in Phoenix. Mm-hmm. The Suns are going through one right now at Talking Stick Resort Arena. I'm excited to check that one out. I've heard amazing things about it. But I think our project the bones of our building was great, but this really took it and allowed it to kind of take it to a whole nother level that'll make us sustainable and competitive for at least the next decade and a half. And then to do it at a fraction of a cost. I think doing a renovation or transformation, ours was $185 million. To build a new venue of the same caliber is probably going to cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 billion in this day and age. And so you think about the valuation of that and why it makes more sense to go with the renovation. I just think it was kind of a no-brainer. So,
were there any kind of big challenges or hurdles that you can remember personally having to get with your group and overcome?
Opportunities, Justin, opportunities, but
big opportunities.
Yeah, big opportunities. Look, I think in any project like that, it's about managing the timeline. It's about managing the budget. For us, we closed down for 2 summers. The first summer was coming off the tail end of an NBA Finals run. So we were trying to enable construction while we were finishing up, a record season, a record-setting season. And so that absolutely had its own logistical things. We then, after we started construction, we did construction all year round but in only certain spots once we went back into Cavs season. So we were hosting concerts and shows in the winter, and then we shut back down again in the summer. But so as you can think about it, there's a lot of logistics and timing and all those things. And that last month was just crazy. But it all worked out, and the end product was fantastic. But I think things like timing and budget and logistics, and then selling. We had a great sales initiative where we generated a ton of revenue for a long period of time, that we're very proud of. But you try to balance all of those things as you're going through it.
In the coming months, are you guys kind of doing preparation on both sides of the coin, where you're preparing as if you may have fans in the arena, and also, the possibility that there won't be? And how is that planning going, and what are the hurdles right now looking like for the coming
opportunities?
The opportunities.
Yeah. Look, there's a lot of contingency planning going on right now, just relative to if you can host fans, how many, all that fun stuff. So, it's a wide spectrum, I will say.
Right.
But we've got a great group that's focused on. I think our plan is really good. I think our plan is about as strong as it can be. When you're thinking about a socially distanced manifest, suite experience, premium experience, all those things, we've kind of got contingencies across the board. And then once we figure out what gets approved, we'll snap in the plan that we have in each kind of phase or place in our arena. And then we'll get going. We've got work right now being done to enable a safe environment, between plexiglass installations and all those things. So I feel great about where we're at. We've really, like I said earlier, been attacking the situation, kind of known outcome by known outcome. But you got the spectrum of contingencies, and it'll maintain that until this thing settles down and there's a vaccination in place, and that takes that's going to take a little bit of time. So we just have to keep focused on executing and making sure we're doing the right things and putting our fans and our team members in a safe environment that they can feel confident and comfortable in coming to. That's really the core of what we're focused on.
Are you guys able to take anything from what you've seen with the NFL so far? Do you guys talk with, obviously I'm sure you collaborate with other NBA teams, but it's a different, obviously, beast to tackle because it's an indoor arena, with close capacity to one another, even with the players. It's obviously unprecedented, but are you able to at least draw from other places for some sort of inspiration or ideas?
Oh yeah, no, I think right now, there's a ton of collaboration going on across leagues, across teams. I mean, we're the biggest fan of the Browns and having 20% of their fans in their stadium right now with plus suites. Across the board. Yeah. I mean, I think there's just a lot of collaboration that's going on. Love what we're seeing in the World Series right now at Globe Life Field down in Dallas. The Cavaliers have got 25,000 fans a game in an indoor stadium. So I think all those things, you're rooting for people to get back in business again. And the profound impact that our buildings and arenas have on communities, bringing people together is just, it's really important. So yeah, absolutely. We've been, like I said, big fans of what everybody's doing. And we look at ourselves like partners in this thing together. Once again, we want to do it in a safe and in a comfortable environment. But we want to see people back doing what they love doing, which is consuming sports and playing sports.
Obviously, we just talked a lot about the building and, the renovations that have taken place and kind of that product of the building and what's going on. How do you kind of market the product on the floor from year to year and how that changes, and kind of marketing the basketball aspect to both your fans and maybe other stakeholders?
Yeah, I think
it's ever changing, and
yeah, I think it is ever changing. But at the same time, I think the one thing we've done a great job of is evolving our brand to meet kind of where we are. And so whether it's been playoff themes or whether it's been quite simply season themes, I think you have to be nimble. I think you've got to be relevant with your fans. We spent a lot of time even since you've left, Sam, focused on how do we contemporize. I've made that word up, but how do we contemporize our marketing approach, on social media, digital media. We have invested heavily in just creative and what it looks like and what it feels like. I think even more right now, and this is not an unknown thing, but digital first mentality, the wave, it's not just a wave, it's here and it has been here for a long time. It'll be here for a long time. So we're doing a lot in those spaces to try to make sure that we have relevancy. And it covers the spectrum, right? From branding opportunities to marketing partnership opportunities to, commercial opportunities that are within our own operation, whether there be retail or e-commerce or whatever the case may be. So I think from a marketing perspective, what you're going to see from us going forward is a very contemporary approach, an approach that really resonates with the spectrum of our fans, both young and old, no matter what the gender or race may be. And I've been really impressed. Our team has really become more thoughtful in how we do market to a lot of those things. We hired a person a little over a year and a half ago, Kevin Clayton, to run our diversity and inclusion and engagement efforts. And Kevin's been fantastic. We had these theme nights, and we've done a really nice job with these theme nights before he got here. But what he's really helped us do is create a degree of authenticity to those different theme nights and executions that resonate with those fans from a marketing perspective. And I think that's incredibly important. It's candidly something we tried to do when I was in Phoenix with the Suns, knowing that we had a very diverse fan base. There's a significant Hispanic population in Phoenix, and so we really wanted to try to make sure, how could we be authentic and genuine to that community as well. And so that's really what we've been focused on is authenticity, being genuine, contemporizing, as I've made up that word, our approach, absolutely digital and social first. And I think it's hard to know what's working, what's not in this period of time, but everything we're managing and monitoring shows that, we're getting stickier with it. But it's one of those things I tell our group all the time, there's no finish line there. You've got to constantly be focused on it, constantly getting better, and evolving, because what is today isn't tomorrow, and what's tomorrow won't be the next day. And so you just got to really work to try to stay as ahead of the curve as you can.
To kind of going back to your time in Phoenix, obviously you said you were there right out of school and then kind of came back a little bit later on. What was your experience like here? What kind of fun times did you have? Did you, get to hit up Old Town? Did you work on your golf game? Other than obviously your work experience, what did you take away from your time here?
I played a decent amount of golf the first few years. I think the one thing I'll always remember about Phoenix, though, our two daughters were born there, in Scottsdale, and that's where that's their birthplace. And so, that'll always be a very special thing for us, for my wife and I. I think the things we worked on there, were fantastic. I don't think we got to see everything through per se, because we were only there for 4.5 years. But I love Arizona. It's fantastic. It's an amazing place to be 8 months out of the year. It gets pretty hot in the summer.
Yeah,
but the mountains are only 2 hours away, and you're in Flagstaff at 7,700 feet, and it's like 70 degrees and sunny. So I love the people there. It's Justin, there's people from all over the country that move there, and so it's this big melting pot of people, and I think I really enjoyed that. There's a bunch of people from a bunch of different walks of life, and I really enjoy the diversity that Phoenix and Arizona in general offers, because it is a great place to live, and the Suns are a great organization, and so you enjoy all those things. I do miss being able to play golf in January, February, March. I'll tell you that much.
Where was your favorite place to tee off from?
I mean, the place we played all the time just goes down the street was the Phoenician golf course.
Real nice.
It's only, 5 minutes or so, 10 minutes from our house. But I mean, Phoenix is, from a golf perspective,
there's too many.
It's one of the meccas
there's one on there. One on every block, it seems like.
Yeah, you really, the Phoenician is probably not maybe the nicest course down there, but I think it's a great course. But there's just some incredible courses I played when I was down there. So it's a lot of fun.
It's like Dunkin' Donuts in Boston. There's a Dunkin' Donuts, they say, on every corner in Boston. There's a golf course on every corner in Arizona.
Yeah, that's actually a great way to look at it. I don't disagree with that at all.
So, at this point in your career, you're still a fairly young guy and you've got all this experience. And what kind of keeps you motivated going forward or every day when you wake up, and kind of what motivation, or not motivation, but what are you kind of looking forward to in your career as it progresses? Obviously, you're at a high role already. So kind of what are some of your goals and motivations going forward?
Yeah, look, I think my main goal is to help our team members and to make an impact with our business and with our platform in the community the best way that we know possible. But my goal is to put people in a position to be successful and grow their careers, make a strong impact within our business, whether that's strategically, community-based, financially, whatever the case may be but just ultimately really continue to build this brand and this business in the way that I think and I know that Dan would want it to be done. And that's really, I think my core focus, and I really focus a lot on working with and working for our team members to help, once again, develop them, push them to be great, achieve their goals, and therefore then we as a company achieve our goals. And I think that's really been my main thing. And then I would say too, as life has evolved, I mentioned this earlier, but I think when I first got into this, you do a lot of it for yourself, and you do a lot of it for your own personal career growth. And now, having two young children, I do it for theirs, and I do it for, the ability to give them experiences or unique things that just will really grow and let them flourish. And so I think there's a more well-rounded personal and professional piece to this that I haven't had necessarily in the early stages of my career. But I think that's, why I get up every day is to try to help our team get better, help our team members get better, and ultimately put us in a position to really, maximize any opportunity that might come our way, minimize any risk that might come our way, and allow us to really be the best brand that we possibly can be in sports.
Obviously, every day is probably different for you, but say it's, during the regular season of a normal non-pandemic season, what's kind of a skeleton of the day look like for you? Kind of your, when you get to work, kind of what's the first thing you typically do? Kind of, I don't think a ton of people would necessarily know what exactly it looks like for someone in your shoes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit. I get up really early. I get up really early, work out in the mornings. I try to drop our daughters off at school every day. They get dropped off around 7:50, 8 a.m. And then I'm in the office, and I'm in the office until, whenever I need to be. I try to get home and have dinner with them and put them down for bed. And then I'm usually logging back into my laptop for a couple hours, so it's probably, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning until 11:30 at night. I try to spend a little bit of time with my wife too, somewhere in there. But I would say during the day, every day is a bit different. Right now we kick off every day at 9 a.m. with a senior leadership call, Monday through Friday, just so we're staying connected. We're talking about different things that are going on, business updates, personal updates. And then from there, it's off to the races. I think I have roughly, on average, at least my Rachel helps me keep my life in order. She tells me that I think I have between 17 and 19 one-on-ones in any given week. I really value staying connected to our team, especially, in all kind of aspects of it. So I have weekly one-on-ones with my direct reports, and then I try to have every other week or monthly one-on-ones with basically everybody that's kind of a director level or above within the company. I don't quite get to everybody, but I get to most. And then, you have strategic meetings, different things that are going on in the business, or customer meetings, client meetings, partner meetings, whatever the case would be. So, like I said, every day is really, really different and unique. The theme for me, though, is to make sure that we're staying connected as a team, and we're staying connected to our partners and to our fans. And so those are really the priorities, that I try to focus on every day.
Just as we sort of wrap up here, I have just kind of a lighter question. You mentioned, golf as one of your hobbies. Obviously, you're really busy with your work. What's something kind of that you're really passionate about outside of sports and business that maybe your coworkers might not know, or something like that?
Um, I do love to play golf. My golf game is a little up and down. It's all over the place right now because I don't play as much as I'd like to. But that's probably a good thing because we're working. Look, if I'm not here, I love spending time with my daughters. I mean, that's like my go-to thing in my life. I love to work out. And then I do love to volunteer and give back. I'm on 4 or 5 boards here in Northeast Ohio from a charitable perspective. Boys and Girls Club, American Red Cross, our Sports Commission, Cleveland Clinic Pediatric Institute, or Pediatric Hospital, I should say. So, I do try to give back as much as I possibly can. I think that's really important, especially, in a time of need and in a community of need. And I've really started to focus a lot, I would say, especially since we hired Kevin Clayton about 1.5 years ago, on our diversity and inclusion efforts. I think we've always done a decent job here of it informally. Bringing Kevin on board has really helped us formalize a lot of that. And now, especially with the events of George Floyd, I just think it's really important that myself as a white guy in a leadership position, that I try to help create systemic change on a sustainable basis, because I think it's really important. And I think it's something that we all need to be focused on. And we've had moments in time, within our organization, team members have shared experiences with me that have really crystallized in my mind that we need to be better as a country. We need to be better as people. And I've never had to go through what a lot of these people have had to go through. And so that doesn't make it right. It absolutely does not make it right. But what would make it even worse is if I didn't do anything about it. And I didn't try to help. And I didn't try to push our team to be better, and to push our community to be better. So that's been, I think a big focus of mine. And once again, just trying to help. I'm not going to be the solution, the end all be all, but if I can be a part of it, and we can be a part of it as a team, I think there's a great opportunity for us. So.
Final thought and kind of question that I have is, obviously being as young as you are in the position that you're in, I'm assuming that there's probably some people that report to you that might be older or that have been working in the business for a longer period of time than you. How do you approach that? Or do you kind of try and treat everyone the same no matter what? Or is there kind of a different approach that maybe you take with someone who's been in the business for so long that could potentially have some envy toward you for having, a higher position of power?
Yeah, look, I think, look, there's no doubt I've worked through this, for a good portion of my career. I think the thing I always say to people is, don't look at it like we have a direct report relationship. We're partners in this. We're partners in this as a business. We're partners in this as people. I'm not the type where my idea always has to win the day. I want the best idea to win the day. It's not who's right, it's what's right. And that's something, once again, our chairman says, it sounds kind of cliche, but it's so true, And so I think it's really important that you look at it like a partnership. And I think if you look at it like a partnership, and look, there's some people that have been in this business for a really long time and they have experiences that I don't have yet. And so it's my job to learn from them just as much as maybe they can learn from me. And if you look at it like it's a very reciprocal two-way street, it really diffuses and kind of takes the guard down around the direct reporting, or I report to you type of. I just that's not my deal.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're partners in this thing if we work together, and that doesn't matter if you're the bottom of the totem pole, the top of the totem pole, middle of the totem pole, wherever you want to say that it is. We're all partners in this, and we all have a share in the outcome. And I think you've really, once again, I go back to the servant-based leadership model. But you've got to be humble and hungry, and you got to know what you don't know. And you got to trust your people, trust our team around the people that do know what they do know, and that we have subject matter experts for a reason in every area. And I'm not going to be that. My job is to try to bring people together and motivate people to be great, and ultimately make the right strategic decisions at the right time for our business. but we do that in collaboration and we do that in partnership. And I think that's the only way that you can really, work through it. And that honestly, Justin, doesn't matter if you're older, younger, male, female, black, white, brown, pink, whatever. It doesn't matter. What matters is the relationship, and what matters is what's right at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, Nick, so we got one final question for you. We've kind of been asking everyone, show a little personality, and we're going to kind of put you into a situation. So, if you were leaving work and you've had a great day, and you get in your car and you're driving out of the garage on the East 9th, you got your windows down, feeling good, and you turn your radio on, what song for you, when it comes on, you just can't help but belt out at any time? This song comes on and you just belt it. If people are looking at you, it doesn't matter. You're just in it.
You're in your own world.
I know you used to sing around the office. I know that.
Yeah, that was whatever was on the speakers though.
Right.
Look, honestly, I like all kinds of music. I mean, you could be in my car one day and I could have Kenny I'm just going through my Apple playlist actually here right now. You could have Kenny Chesney. One day you could have a band called Arizona. You could have some EDM, Jack Johnson, John Mayer, Dave Matthews. I mean, I'm so all over the board with music. I got Oasis in here. A little bit of everything. Maybe
a guilty pleasure song.
Yeah, I mean it's hard. It's I don't know. Look, the only thing that'll get me actually singing is probably a Kenny Chesney song, just because I don't have all the lyrics memorized to all the other songs, but I think there is something therapeutic about country music and Kenny, whether it's Back Where I Come From or Here and Now or Get Along or American Kids.
Pirate Flag, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it was a great concert to go to in person, by the way, but that'd be probably my list. You guys are going to quote me on that, so I'm sure I'm going to get called on at some point. But
that's our first country answer. I can tell you.
There you go. Yep. We'll expect a cowboy hat in the mail.
There you go.
Well, appreciate the time, Nick. It was great to catch up with you, and glad you could come on our podcast and chat with us.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Pleasure to meet you, and thanks again for coming on.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Internal Chatter podcast. We'd like to extend a thank you to our guest once again, Nic Barlage, for joining us. Another thanks to our brilliant editor, Jacob Franklin, and our social media content coordinator, Steven Ontiveros. For Justin Gaither, I'm Sam Coombs. Stay tuned, folks. We'll chat soon.